this is Priyanka Khanna, Fashion Features Director at Vogue India, and welcome to a very special session of Vogue and the Natural Diamond Council Diamond Fest. It was exactly 4 years ago that Sabyasachi's jewelry line debuted. 2 years later, he opened his flagship jewelry store in Mumbai's Kala Ghora. Just last year, he showcased at Bergdorf Goodman a specially curated collection of his jewelry, clothing, and accessories that, despite a pandemic, was soon sold out. And just last week, he opened his first store in Dubai, where he shares space with some of the world's most incredible jewelry houses. Jewelry was an organic transition for the designer, who has long been a bridal favorite, thanks to his very signature aesthetic, one that celebrates Indian maximalism and layers influences, textures, and detail. But to define Sabyasachi's jewelry line as simply bridal would be completely inaccurate. His jewelry continues the ethos of pushing boundaries, and to use the hackneyed term, disrupts the very idea of traditional natural diamond jewelry. With its interplay of color, material, and influences, he mixes semi-precious and precious, natural diamonds and colored gemstones with fluidity. Today, we're getting to the very heart of this jewelry line. I'm thrilled to have Sabyasachi Mukherjee with me for this special session as a part of Vogue and the Natural Diamond Council Diamond Fest. Thank you, Sabya, for being with us today.
Pleasure, Priyanka, pleasure.
So I'm going to get straight to it. Take us to the beginning. What was your impetus in really starting this line? You know, it was already quite a crowded marketplace. So what prompted you?
So Priyanka, this was like coming back home. You know, I started off as a jeweler before I got into clothes. So I used to do a lot of jewelry with plastic, recycled materials, shell, bone, horn. So the business became quite substantial for me. I used to have a monthly turnover of 1,200 rupees. And I remember selling them out of plastic tiffin boxes to hawkers in Calcutta. My mother joined the business, then my cook joined the business, and then we managed to make it into 3,000 rupee turnover per month. And so I remember the first really large necklace that I sold was for 800 rupees. I was very excited. And then, of course, you know, in Calcutta, we had a political transformation called Operation Sunshine, where all the hawkers were removed. And there went my chance at distribution. And, you know, I gave it up. I did many things. I opened a modeling agency. I did choreography. Then eventually I got into NIFT and I started a label. But I told myself that one day when I have position and voice and power, I'll get back into doing jewelry again, because, you know, I love the engineering process of jewelry, and I like gemstones. My grandfather used to buy a lot of jewelry from my grandmother. So my mother inherited a lot of those pieces, especially from a beautiful store in Calcutta called Hamilton. And so the love never left me. And throughout my career, whether it was a very first collaboration that I'd done with Tanishq many, many years ago, to doing something with Forever Mark, to start collaborating with 2-3 jewelers, I've always kind of done a bit of jewelry, and it's always excited me. I've learned a lot through my many collaborations, through a lot of corporates that I've worked with. And because we are a part of the bridal market, I think it is, you know, I just realized one thing, that, you know, it's your WhatsApp display picture and it's what you put on your Instagram that actually defines consumption. And for most girls, it's half bust. So what you actually see is a lot of jewelry, a little bit of clothes, and a lot of makeup. So for us, a natural transgression of the brand would have been clothing, jewelry, and beauty at one point of time.
You know, and especially now, given that we're doing everything on Zoom screens, that's really all you see. You know, I could be wearing shorts under this and, you know, nobody would be any wiser. But, you know, I want to go back to the story you once told me, because, you know, your personal connect with jewelry is so incredible. You once told me a story about discovering your favorite diamonds. Your obsession with diamonds started, I think it was at Hamilton in Calcutta. So can you tell us how that experience was, where you saw pieces that really have sort of inspired you through your career?
So, you know, the Victorian jewelry, and especially diamond set jewelry, which all over India is still called Bengali Kam, because all the finest karigars of diamond setting jewelry are from Bengal. So my grandfather, who used to own a lot of rice mills, you know, he was quite a showkeen. So he used to buy a lot of things for my mother, for my grandmother. He had fancy cars. He used to buy a lot of jewelry, Banarsi saris. So there was this particular store in Calcutta called Hamilton. And, you know, Hamilton was very big during British occupied India. And they say that, you know, it was as up there as Cartier and Tiffany and all of these iconic stores. And a lot of royalty, a lot of European royalty, a lot of European noblemen used to get a lot of their jewelry manufactured in Calcutta. A lot of people don't know that a lot of finest of European jewelry still gets manufactured in Calcutta in small villages, especially in a place called Domjur. And so I've grown up seeing a lot of good jewelry. Especially my mother had a beautiful necklace. It was Art Deco. It was set in platinum. And, I was fascinated by the fact that, it had a very delicate yet at a very strong quality, because Art Deco is very architectural, but it was still very fragile. It was almost, a combination of Belle Epoque and Art Deco. And my mother used to always wear that for family weddings. And she had a lot of gold jewelry, but that was a favorite diamond jewelry. So I think I have a family connection with that piece. And while I was growing up, I like the fact that diamonds can be used so beautifully, like whether you have the Golcondas, or whether the light luster comes from the fact that the chemical compositions are such, or whether you look at diamonds in any form, whether you look at table cut diamonds, rose cut diamonds, mutual cut diamonds. I like the fact that it can be combined with different things, and depending on how you cut your diamond, you can get a very sharp light, or you can get something which is dull and beautiful. And I've always liked playing with it because it for me it's theatrics, visual theatrics.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a particular stone or cut or setting that you love in natural diamonds that you tend to use?
I actually like rose cuts a lot. Mm-hmm. I like old mine cut diamonds because of the fact that the bottom facet is cut, and so that I don't like diamonds which are brilliant. I like them in smaller quantities, but I like them, I like diamonds to be used when they emanate different kinds of light with different kinds of cuts. Like, I'm more of a classic person. So for me, a cushion is my all-time favorite. I would like a cushion cut, or I would like a princess. I love rounds. I love ovals. Once in a while, I would probably like other fancy cuts. But I prefer, the timelessness of rounds and cushions. And as far as diamonds are concerned, I like to play with different kinds of cut because they emanate different kinds of light. So I'd use a little bit of brilliant with table cut, which almost has no reflection or refraction of light, so that it's dull. It has to be artificially induced with silver foil, or I would probably do rose cuts surrounded with brilliant cuts, and use a little bit of old mine cut also. But having said that, mutual cuts are my favorite because they are one notch lower than brilliant cut. They still have beautiful luster, beautiful shine, but it doesn't dazzle you. It still has that little bit of if diamonds could have patina, it still has that feel of patina. I like the fact that it almost feels like you've discovered it from a treasure hunt at the bottom of the ocean.
I love that too. And I think, what's interesting is going back into how you like to play with the diamonds is that is really your signature. That's what makes you stand out, is your interplay of materials and cuts and textures, whether it's your jewelry or whether it's your clothing. So take us through that. Does the cut inspire, does the stone inspire the design, or is it the other way around? And how do you like to mix materials when it comes to your jewelry?
So, I'll go back to fashion, and I'll go back to home. I've always admired women who have, who put together looks very effortlessly. One woman who's always been effortless with the style has been Kate Moss. Mm-hmm. Kate Moss, Vanessa Paradis, because, I like the fact that, they beautifully mix high street and low street. So Kate Moss could wear a beautiful couture Chanel jacket, and, she could be wearing it with really, really battered 501s. And she could wear them with Converse, and then she would probably marry them with eclectic jewelry, towel dried hair, just a little bit of mascara, and she looks like $1 million. Mm-hmm. And similarly, when you go to a beautiful home, like, I think a beautiful home is a home where people have, like, I remember going to Parmeshwar Godrej's house for the first time when I'd gone with Oprah Winfrey, and I remember that she had the most battered kilims with which nobody would buy because, they had massive craters and holes in them. But she had beautiful furniture, eclectic art. And I like the fact that, when people mix up high and low together, I like homes where they would have a Picasso. Next to the Picasso, there would be probably the children's doodle. Next to it, there would be a family photograph. I like it when, people put the energies of different kinds of things, high, low, expensive, inexpensive, together in a very democratic, effortless fashion. And then that gives rise to confidence. And that is what I think is style. A big learning for me was when I went to Bergdorf. I remember seeing jewelry of a lot of people where they use diamonds with wood, shell. And, I remember going to Bergdorf and asking them that, when a customer comes back to you, what are your buyback policies? What do you do? So they were very confused. They said, what do you mean by that? Then I explained to them how India does consumption. Like for India, jewelry is investment first, consumption later. All over the West, it's consumption first and investment later, because they want to buy jewelry that they want to wear. They don't want to buy that to park money. And they said that, people here want to buy jewelry as art. And he said that, Sabya, your jewelry is art. How can you put a price to art? How can you say that, this is what it is? And I came back and I started thinking, I said that, one of my pet peeve about diamond jewelry in India is that we are so stereotypical about the way we do jewelry. So I started this new collection called Tropic of Calcutta, which was inspired by all the flea markets of the world. And where like if you go to St. Owen, you would probably have a rare chandelier, which would be like a Baccarat or a Nosler, which would set you back by thousands of euros, probably €500,000. But in the same shop, you would probably find a tin statue, which is for €3. And, that set me thinking that how do I bring energy back into diamond jewelry so that there is investment, but yet at the same time, there is a little bit of playfulness and fun. So I started mixing a lot of things like battered coral, unpolished coral, Basra, South Sea pearls, and then started pushing the boundaries with doing things like peridot, Amazonite. Then you do things like moonstone, cat's eye, with sapphire, Kashmir sapphires. Then you use them with Burmese rubies. Then you use them with not so expensive rubies, tourmalines, jade, bone, shell, and combine them with VVS1 diamonds set in 18 karat gold. So there's a lot of investment. But yet at the same time, you get these beautiful large pieces which are eclectic, modern, that people can wear every day without it burning a hole in their pocket. And a lot of, we are opening a store in Dubai. And so we are up there with some of the best in the world. Like, there is, next to me, there's Mikimoto, downstairs, there's Graph. And one of the reasons they like that, I call this disruptive diamond jewelry, is the fact that, Dubai has a confident market where there's so much money that, they bought the best in the world. Now they want to buy things that are different. And people are slowly moving on to this direction of being able to mix high and low, like how you would now wear sportswear with couture, or you would wear an evening gown with flats or sneakers. Similarly, people want to mix diamonds with things which are not so kosher, like coral and turquoise. And I'm enjoying that mix. I think it gives you a sense of investment, but yet at the same time, it frees you to use diamonds in a very bohemian way, so that while you consume, you also invest.
I love that, because I really do think it's the mix that defines you. It's such an important part of your signature aesthetic. How have brides reacted to your pieces? What is your advice to them when they're obviously putting together a Sabya look, which is now pretty much from head to toe? What are the conversations you've had that have surprised you, but are also interesting?
The way millennials and people of this generation are Gen Z and everybody, they're consuming jewelry, is the fact that, earlier, the entire business was about the local jeweler and the family jeweler. But right now, I don't think if you look at the younger generation and if you tell them that, you need to park your money into jewelry, I don't think they're very comfortable doing that, because for them, there's a big shift in the way you look at consumption and look at investment. So for them, they prefer to invest in a quality of life. Gone are the days where you can actually hold on to a job just because it paid you well. Right now, you want everything. You want the Starbucks next to you. You want to be in a great building. You want to have a little time off. You want flexi time, work from home, which has changed the entire job culture all over the world. You want to have flexi time, freedom, holidays. Similarly, like a lot of them want to invest in their mind. They want to invest in experience. They want to invest in travel. If I tell any of my people in my factory that, as a gift, whether do you want a 1 week holiday, or do you want uh, I don't want to take names of brands, but do you want a very important bag? They say no, holiday.
Holiday.
You want a holiday. So what happens with a lot of people, India at one point of time was a savings economy, while the West was a consumption economy. I think the pandemic, the shift in generations, all of us has taught us that we need to live for this generation and we need to live for today, because you never know what you might not even see tomorrow if tomorrow comes. So that is going to define the way people are going to consume jewelry. Earlier, it was the parents who used to tell the children what to buy. Now it's the children who are navigating shopping and telling the parents what to buy. They have so much information at their doorstep, so that it's the children who are leading the brand. And I think while jewelry is such a part of Indian culture that it's never going to go away, thankfully. But people don't want to just buy jewelry and keep it in their lockers. They want to buy jewelry and they want to wear it with everything. People ask me that, I'm buying this piece of jewelry for my wedding. How can I wear it with a dress? How can I wear it with a t-shirt? When I want to go to the West, I can't always wear Indian clothes. Do you think I can wear a pair of chandbalis with my blazer? So I think people, what the beautiful thing about Indian jewelry is that it only occupies 10 to 15% of your body space, while Indian clothing would occupy about 70 to 80% of your body space. So when you're traveling abroad and you want to have a cosmopolitan mix, you want to be a part of a global identity, yet at the same time you want to preserve your own identity. Accessories like handbags, jewelry, maybe a little bindi, or maybe something that's Indian, or a little bit of a tattoo or a henna, or a charm bracelet, it helps you preserve your identity. So a lot of people are right now going in for jewelry that has a feel of India, but can also translate globally with global clothing. Because today you don't even know where you're going to be based anymore. Everybody's become a global citizen. People are traveling all over the world. Kids are getting educated outside. There's such a free mix of culture on Instagram, on social media, that I think the new generation is going to look at jewelry that is multicultural and that has multidimensional attributes of wearability. So they don't want to just buy expensive pieces that they want to keep in a vault, because they would rather use that money to buy a car that they can use every day, or a home that they can enjoy every day. So what they will do is they will now try to find more expressions of investment that can be enjoyed every day. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing for new language of jewelry to come into the country.
I agree. And I think that goes into my next question, which is really how you built a first generation jewelry brand on a very definitive language and a very definitive vocabulary, which of course has an emotional quotient to it, but also has, for the lack of a better word, a fashion element to it. Can you take us through how you really thought that out and how you built that brand?
Is going to be important because the consumer demands it. And the new consumer does not really care about whether your brand has been there for 50 generations or 40 generations. They want to buy things from brands which tell authentic stories, that they can trust, brand that gives them something that they consider value for money. And value for money can mean so many things to many things. It could be how you're ecologically building a brand, or how your brand adheres to certain things that people expect out of you, or how inclusive you are, or whether you are dressing up their icons. So I think there are many jewelry companies in this country, but many of them have not focused on building a brand. So today it's going to be a combination of a great product, great pricing, trust, democracy of design, and also of building a brand. Because today's children want to consume something that gives them a 360-degree experience and not just a product. So it's a great time for first generation jewelers.
Well, I think that gives hope to a lot of young talent. The idea of diamonds, and diamonds have a significance to them. What is your emotional connect with the natural diamond?
When I look at diamonds, apart from the fact that it's precious and shiny and beautiful, I think what the first thing that comes to me is dependability, because you see they're some of the oldest stones in the world, and the fact that they have almost they are how do I say, unperishable. The fact is that you can change your settings, you can take the diamond, because it's such a hard stone that you will destroy jewelry but you'll never be able to destroy a diamond. But I like the fact that it can pass on from generations to generations to generations to generation, and that sense of timelessness is what gives diamond the real value. I like the fact that it's almost like, how do I say, uh, it's almost like the lender of last resort. That when you have nothing left, the diamonds are with you.
Yeah. And also in a way, it's the biggest story of conscious consumption, right? Because you're passing it through generations, it's lasting.
Right.
You can change the details, but you're not going to sort of get rid of diamonds. So and that again goes back into your the ethos of your work, whether it's in the embroidery you use, or your use of borders, which can then which have been reused from the past. I think that's really what it's always been the crux of your work. So I want to get back. Sorry.
So no, Priyanka, I was saying that you touched a very important point, because I always tell myself that when I'm giving something to a person, I hope it lasts. I come from a middle class background, so we didn't have much. So for us, because you didn't have much, you valued everything. I was just telling somebody that we come from a generation where we didn't throw away things, we learned to mend them. So if and look at the way middle class India was sustainable. So if one of your chappals got torn, you never threw it away. You took it to a local cobbler and he fixed it for you. Middle class India really had a circular economy. And I learned from that for me, it's very, very important to preserve things. Coming back to something that you had said, one of the reason I like round diamonds, I like cushion cuts, I like princess, as opposed to anything that's a very fancy cut, is because these are all timeless cuts. You can always take them off from a piece and put them on another setting, and that you'll always be able to use it, whether you can use it as a earring or a pendant or a part of a very large piece. Classic things like whenever I buy diamonds, I have one thumb rule: buy quality and buy cuts which are timeless. I never get enchanted by fancy cuts. I just think it's too transient. I like to buy something that, like when I've been enchanted by pieces that have been done by Harry Winston, Buccellati. And when I look at some of their pieces, what I like is the fact, especially with Harry Winston, repeat value. You can use it again and again and again and again.
And they don't look dated, right? You can wear a Harry Winston piece from 60 years ago today, and it would still look as contemporary. And I think that's true of your clothes. I mean, I've had that experience where I wear your lehengas that I bought from you 12 years ago, and, I don't feel, out of place at all, which I think goes back to my next question is, how do you approach designing jewelry different from, is there a different approach to designing jewelry versus a sari or lehenga in your mind?
No, it's the same thing. I firstly want to give people dynamism of culture, but I also want to give them something that they can hold on to in terms of design, also good quality. Because you see, in India, we have a very warped attitude with quality, because when you put a VVS1 diamond with a turquoise, or let's say a battered coral, a person will come to me and say, can you polish that coral please for me? I say, no, I won't. And they'll be like, lekin ye to kitna ganda hai. And the diamond is so beautiful. I said, ma'am, you buy that entire thing together. I keep telling them that, like, I have never really admired people who wear designer clothes head to toe, because somewhere down the line, the hue inside you does not translate. But when I all the women that I've admired, all of them, I've admired them because they have always had that sense of individuality in which they brought clothes. I have had friends who have worn T-shirts to very important dinners, and it's an intarsia T-shirt. Maybe it has a little hole in it, but then she has worn the most fabulous Harry Winston necklace with it and black leather pants.
Mm.
And I'm like, wow, confidence. And I think what the younger generation has in oodles is because they are such an inclusive generation. They have grown up seeing so much, is they have oodles of confidence. And I want to create jewelry that is a homage to that confidence. I don't want them to say that just because it's expensive, expensive needs to sit next to expensive.
Mm.
One of my biggest design philosophy has come from a painting of Frida Kahlo, the very famous painting called The Bus. And in Mexico at her time, there was no reserved compartment for in buses, public transport. So a nobility used to sit next to a peasant, and I like that sense of community. I like the fact that you can mix, as long as things look beautiful to you. I don't think you need to overthink, because in India, everything that you do in terms of jewelry is made only for investment. And somewhere down the line, I think the product becomes sterile. I've seen a lot of people buying terrible jewelry because it makes for great investment. And I say that, you could just put that money in bonds or just buy gold bricks.
Yeah.
Why do you have to buy jewelry for investment that you'll only wear once and you'll never wear? I know a lot of girls who tell me, oh my God, my wedding jewelry was so tacky. I don't even know what to do with it. It's sitting in my locker. I said, why did you buy it? No, parents bought it for me. Papaji bought it for me because it was investment. I said, don't do that. I said, the modern investment is about something that you can invest and enjoy at the same time. Because investment has to be both, how do I say, it has to be both tangible and intangible. The earlier generation only believed in tangible investment. The new generation believes in a healthy combination of tangible and intangible.
Is there a particular natural piece that you've created with diamonds that has really resonated with you, or that you feel is really a reflection of your approach?
So the new collection that I've done called Tropic of Calcutta. So what we've done is we've used the finest of VVS and VVS1 diamonds, ENF color. So they are, they're almost the top of the pops in diamond. But then I've used them with a plethora of stones, whether it's turquoise, whether it's sapphire, whether it's coral, whether it's complete boo-boos, almost low semi-precious stones. But when you put them together, this is so fabulous. And there is a very, very strong backbone of investment because the gold is 18 karat. Mm-hmm. The diamonds are VVS1 and VVS ENF color. But then what lends the volume is the playfulness of, things like jasper, jade, a lot of stones, labradorite, that people would not really associate with diamonds. And I think that's confident jewelry. And also the codes of clothing are changing, Priyanka. Like, you're in the business for a long time to know that, clothing is becoming so much more DIY. Mm-hmm. Like, people are now mixing freely. They are mixing high street with low street. I remember seeing a Valentino show when Pier Paolo and Maria Grazia debuted. And, they had the most pristinely beautiful evening gowns. But what made it delightful and young and fresh was the girls wore it with flats and not with stilettos. And I think that sense of playfulness, comfort, easiness, confidence, inclusivity is going to become the new norms and the new pillars of the jewelry industry.
I agree. And I think it's such an exciting way forward. And I think, what is appealing with your pieces is that you really can spot them, and they stand out in a nice way in sort of in the crowd, and it really reflects everyone's new approach, which is, like you said, mixing. So thank you, Sabya, for being a part of this panel with us. We loved your views and, hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Priyanka, and thank you, everyone.